Hey, it's Mike from the FinOps Foundation. Today I've got Kiran and Ritesh from the Azure efficiency team. Ritesh, do you want to kick us off with an intro?
Sure. Thanks for having us, Mike. I'm the PM lead for Azure Efficiency. Our focus is mainly on helping customers get the most out of Azure for less. We mainly work on cost optimization and on carbon optimization. I'm joined here by Kiran from my team. Kiran, do you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, thanks, Ritesh. And Mike, thanks for having us. Excited to be doing this video. I am the product manager for Azure Carbon Optimization, which we'll be talking about more today. So let's get started.
Thanks. What are you hearing from customers regarding the need for cloud sustainability?
Just to start with, cloud sustainability is about minimizing the environmental impact of cloud computing. There was a recent article which published the fact that cloud computing results in more emissions than commercial flights. So everyone wants to do their part. A lot of customers have come to us about wanting to get more involved in cloud sustainability, and they've given us multiple different reasons on why, starting with government regulations. The EU or the European Union is leading the charge there with the CSRD, or the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, that mandates companies to report on their environmental impact as well as their financial reporting. And so a lot of customers are trying to get started on collecting the data and making sure that they have what it needs to meet those regulations. On top of the government regulations, customers are creating sustainability goals for themselves to be better citizens of the planet. It helps with employee morale in terms of employees feel like they're part of a company that cares about the planet. And it also sets them apart from their competitors. Any company that is focused on the environment will get a leg up over their competitors.
What does it mean for you as a cloud service provider, and what are your customers expecting from you?
What it means to us is that we understand that we have a responsibility towards minimizing our environmental impact. We're doing our part with regards to investing in renewable energy, designing better data centers, optimizing our workloads, etc. But it also means that we can help our customers do their part. Like, customers have a role to play here as well. And so what we're hearing from customers is that they want more data in terms of the sustainability impact of cloud computing. They want better tooling, and they want to understand the best practices involved when it comes to cloud sustainability. But it's still early days. Customers are still trying to figure out the sustainability space. They're trying to ramp up on concepts like what scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. They're trying to understand what are their baselines. They're trying to understand what can they map cloud sustainability to in terms of other existing processes that they already have so that they know how to get started. Some are ahead of others when it comes to cloud sustainability, but pretty much everyone is getting started.
Yeah, that's something we've noticed at the foundation, that when it comes to cloud costs, I think companies were very active and energetic to try and solve their own problems and figure out their own best practices. But what we see when it comes to cloud sustainability is a lot of teams holding back, wanting to hear what is the best practice, what is the right approach to take. So having examples that show people the right way, or at least a way to move in this space, is really helpful. So I guess, how are your customers getting started in the cloud sustainability space?
We've interacted with a whole bunch of customers, and the trend that we've seen is, more often than not, it is the team that's involved that's driving the cloud sustainability discussions, mainly because they are the ones that are maintaining the cloud resources. And most of the times, these IT teams are relying on existing playbooks to make progress in the cloud sustainability space. And an existing playbook that they generally fall back on is the cost optimize. Like, how do I account for all these costs? How do I make sure that the processes are there to create a culture of cost sensitivity? And so they're applying that same thing to carbon in terms of, how do I account for the carbon emissions my team is generating? And how do I make sure that the different teams understand what their carbon emissions are and how to reduce it?
And I guess most important for our audience here is, how does FinOps fit into this space?
FinOps can help through a strategic approach that involves streamlining operations, processes, and resource allocation through FinOps best practices. FinOps has capabilities that are perfect for cloud sustainability. Capabilities like reporting and analytics help create that culture of accountability of carbon emissions. Capabilities like workload optimization help with carbon reductions or carbon avoidance. So all these existing capabilities, which were mainly used for cost so far, are equally applicable for carbon accounting and cloud sustainability as well. So FinOps practitioners can lean very heavily on these existing processes that they've already created to start thinking about carbon emissions as well. Cost and carbon are proportional to each other because the more resources you use, the more it costs and the more carbon you generate. But there are deviations. Like, for example, discounts might apply to costs, but might not apply to carbon emissions. In general, the processes apply, but there are certain nuances that practitioners might need to start learning to get into this cloud sustainability space as well.
We don't need to recreate all of those relationships with the different stakeholders around the organization. Carbon can be just another input into that value conversation that we're having with cloud. And like you say, there are some activities that happen within FinOps that impact cloud sustainability that really should be taken into account or work on balance as far as the goals of sustainability as well as the financial goals of the business. Over to you, Kiran. What's your advice or recommendation on steps for the FinOps practitioner to begin the process of maturing a cloud sustainability practice?
Great question. I also like that you're using maturing cloud sustainability. So as Ritesh was talking about earlier, customers are on all sorts of places in the maturity curve when it comes to cloud sustainability. Some are just starting and some are more advanced. In talking to all these customers, we have mapped out an organization's typical journey when it comes to starting to focus on cloud sustainability. The journey would start with understanding the current cloud carbon footprint using existing solutions or data provided by the cloud solution provider. The next step generally involves educating the IT and developer communities within the organization to become more familiar with the sustainability impact of cloud, and also just normalize the use of carbon metrics or metric tons of CO2e within engineering operations. Once there is a shared understanding of carbon impact, individuals and teams across the organization can optimize for sustainability impact, whether it's setting or achieving goals, or even making workload optimizations that take carbon as an engineering fundamental. These phases map very closely to FinOps domains. Iteration and continued emphasis on each of these phases will help build the muscle for cloud sustainability in any organization.
Yeah, so it really sounds like it's not all targeted specifically at the FinOps practitioner, but really across wider groups around the organization.
Yeah, you're absolutely right in saying that. Achieving sustainability goals is a huge task. It's a task that we're doing for our planet. It is not the responsibility of just one individual or team. It requires a coordinated effort from multiple personas across the organization. That being said, what the FinOps practitioner can do is to rally the team behind this idea. And the best part of the FinOps practitioner driving this is they already have relationships established with key personas across IT, product, leadership, procurement, etc. In addition, when it comes to cloud sustainability, they need to add one more persona to their playbook, which is the ESG teams, just to get aligned on the corporate ESG goals.
To really sort of put it down to something simple that people can get started with, what are the responsibilities for these personas? What duties do they start to fulfill as part of that role?
Let's start talking about the FinOps practitioner. So they can come in, they can start working with the ESG teams to set the overarching vision and strategy on how, as an organization, they're going to pursue sustainability. That usually starts with tracking carbon metrics, creating baselines, developing goals, and setting things in motion for the rest of the organization to follow. The second piece is really the engineering community, specifically the IT pros and developers. They're really important personas because ultimately they're the ones who are managing resources on the cloud and creating new resources on the cloud every day. They would define and implement the sustainability best practices that are relevant for an organization. ultimately enabling what we call environmentally conscious software development.
On top of the personas that Kiran's mentioned, another persona that has a big part to play in the cloud sustainability world is the data scientist and the data analyst. There's a ton of data available regarding cloud sustainability, about emissions at a resource grain, emissions across different types of resources, that they can analyze to identify best practices for their own organization. So they can work with the FinOps practitioner, work with the ESG practitioner to identify a series of steps that the organization can take to further the sustainability goals.
Let us know, what sort of tools have you made available from your team that help support practitioners with their cloud sustainability practice?
So we have launched 2 new exciting tools in February of this year. They're both in public preview. The first one is called Azure Carbon Optimization, catering to the IT pros and developer personas who work with the Azure portal a lot. This offers emissions data at subscription, resource group, and resource level granularity, enabling users to identify optimization opportunities across different scopes, and also focusing efforts on where emissions are highest so that they can drive reduction. In addition to leveraging data to find out opportunities for optimization, users can also find reduction recommendations, which are based on utilization patterns, suggesting changes such as switching to a more efficient virtual machine that helps them not only save emissions, but also save costs. Azure Carbon Optimization is available within the Azure portal. And as long as you're a subscription owner or contributor, you will be able to see your emissions immediately. All you need to do is type in carbon optimization in the portal search box. The second one is called Microsoft Azure Emissions Insights, which is available as part of the Sustainability Data Solutions in Fabric. Given that we are dealing with a lot of data experts within the FinOps and cloud sustainability teams can leverage Microsoft Fabric's data capabilities to perform advanced analytics, such as create custom views, extract insights, or even combine emissions data with relevant business and context-specific data to inform and further the organization's sustainability initiatives.
And so thinking about the road ahead, what do you think is next?
That's a question everyone has. We want to enable a culture of sustainability through everything we do at Microsoft. When it comes to Azure, we want to make sustainability signals front and center throughout a resources lifecycle within the cloud. We can't not have a conversation these days that does not mention AI. So we can leverage AI to optimize processes, automate tasks, identify optimization opportunities, leading to more sustainable outcomes more quickly. And then finally, by piggybacking on the wonderful FinOps principles, we can enable collaboration among the right set of stakeholders, create the right culture that promotes responsible use of technology, which balances cost efficiency and environmental responsibility and leads us to a more sustainable and greener future.
AI definitely tops up in the conversations, both in the generation of carbon and potential for helping us with it. Thanks for hanging out for us today. I think the practitioner community really benefits from these types of conversations. I'm hoping that we can take some of this information, especially some of those steps to get started, and actually see some of the practitioners out there get involved with their ESG groups and start to bring carbon into their FinOps practice.
Thanks for having us on, Mike. I hope people found this insightful and helpful in getting started on their own cloud sustainability journey.
Thanks, Mike. Excited and glad to have this platform to share what we have done with Azure Carbon Optimization and Emissions Insights, and can't wait for more customers to start using this.